I'm not a quilt designer. I can't piece a quilt together, but I do like to sew when I can sew. So once they get it all put together and it just needs to be sewed around the edges, I can sew around the edges, great, you know. And there's great fellowship and support within that group. We have ladies that are part of that group that don't know the Lord. So it's a great testimony for her to be there around these Christian ladies. We have other ladies that are part of that group that teach a different Jesus than we do. But it's a great testimony for them to be around our ladies who are evangelical in their faith. And there's ladies from other evangelical churches that come to part of that group. And these quilts go to servicemen, they go to our share house here. I've taken quilts to the Safe Ministries in Chehalis, you know. Can you knit and crochet? Could you knit and crochet little bonnets for newborns that would go to Crisis Pregnancy Center? Could you make little flannel blankets for Crisis Pregnancy Center? Could you make bibs? You know, call your Crisis Pregnancy Center. What's their need for maybe homemade items if you enjoy sewing that you could do? These two dolls in the middle of the table there. That was a ministry that a lady started who had cancer. She wanted to do something, and so as she met individuals in the infusion unit when she was sitting there getting her chemo, God laid this ministry on her heart. She began to make these dolls for specific individuals. As she made these dolls, she prayed for these individuals and their walk down that road with cancer. I kind of got an extra bonus out of this because my husband was the one that had the cancer. But Sarah made a doll for him and for me. And that was Sarah Wisdom, who was our state women's ministry director here for a long, long time. And that was just a special thing that God laid on her heart that she could do to reach out and touch the lives of others when she had cancer. So do you enjoy Bible study? You know, could you start a Bible study just in your apartment complex or within your neighborhood, you know, and invite just neighbor ladies, you know, that don't know the Lord, just to be able to look at God's Word, you know, and see what it says. We all have a passion, and of course one of my passions is disaster relief. And a new role that I've taken on as a servant is to be the admin assistant for our state organization of disaster relief. And we have a great training opportunity in June, and it's going to be near Spokane. And teenagers can do disaster relief. We had a lot of kids that went back and helped with Sandy this year to do cleanup back there. And so there's certain areas that you can serve in disaster relief even as a teen. And so the areas that I would recommend that you be trained in just to work here in the Northwest, we have fires in the Northwest and we have floods in the Northwest. So get trained in fire cleanup, get trained in mud out, get trained in damage assessment. Those are the teams that go out and decide how much help is needed to clean up after the fire, to clean up after the homes have been flooded, you know. Do we need 2 teams? Do we need 10 teams? You know, how long do the teams need to be there? So these are all things that we can become involved in. So think about what your passion is. What do you enjoy doing, and how can you turn that into a ministry? There's ministries that reach out in evangelism to bring people in to know the Lord, but there's also other ministries that just encourage the body and help the body to grow together and minister to one another. I think of small churches who, if a big church in town, if there would be 3 families from that big church that would be willing to leave that church for a year, go to that small church, give that pastor and his wife support for a year to be there, maybe to help do some new Bible studies in that church. Maybe just the fact of bringing their tithes and offerings to that church for a year or 2 would be such a blessing on that church and help them in a mighty way. So just let your imagination go and figure out what it is that God might be calling you to do to be involved in ministry. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.